Welcome to your new hobby. Prince August has been making miniature molds since the 60s. We have a vast array of different toys to choose from toy soldiers to chess sets of a wide range of themes, to non-military molds like teddy bears you can stick on a fridge, to different types of fairies you can paint or just polish. They have little magnets in the back to hold them onto the fridge doors. And of course, a variety of different sizes of molds as well, from 25 to 40 to 54 millimeter molds. These are fantasy figure molds. They are in 25 millimeter figures, Napoleonic molds, Battle of Waterloo. We have different size starter kits available to help people begin the hobby. You can see a selection of them here. They're called value starter kits. They include clamps, paints, mold metal. You can also see here our 54mm knights, our 54mm scale Napoleonic figures, and even going as far as a 54mm scale nativity set. First of all, it's important to understand what you need. You need a hot plate, you need a ladle, and you need to start melting some of our metal. Today we're going to use model metal. Okay, it's quite low melting point, about 140 degrees Celsius. It takes up to 300 to be prepared for pouring. It melts very quickly, as you can see here. You must place it in the pan, let it melt down, and give it an additional few minutes for it to reach the necessary temperature to pour. As you can see, in a matter of a minute, the metal bar has completely gone into a liquid state. See? Give it a good stir up. Make sure that there's nothing left behind. Also, it's important to make sure that there's no residue near the area you're going to be pouring. So from the nozzle on the ladle, scrape away any surface residue. There's not much here, but if you are letting metal boil for a while, it can build up from oxidation. Now, these are the molds that we're going to be using. These are from the new chess set, the Battle of the Alamo. It's the King and Queen. And these are the clamps. These are little metal clamps that will be used to hold the mold together. They're very reusable and will last a long time. Support boards are vital. These insulate the mold, prevent the clamps from pinching it. There's a rough side and a smooth side, as you can see here. The rough side is supposed to be placed against the mold so that it acts as additional grip. The talcum powder or release agent is vital. It needs to be placed on a powder on the mold to prevent the air getting trapped. A little cotton swab is used for application. Other materials you can use and be bought separately are the wire snips, a wire clipper. We have a super snipper, as we call it in our shop. This is used to cut off ingates. It's important to note that the flat edge you place against the part of the metal you want to keep. Otherwise you end up with a bump. It's also important to use a wire brush, or a stiff toothbrush even will do. This is used to clean and polish the figure. You want to get rid of all the talcum powder that will be on the figure after you've cast. We also have a set of files that you can use to clean off any rough edge. This should not be done in a sawed manner, but in a swift single movement to move away any residue. It can also be done on around the surface, again following the edge of the surface. You can clean off any rough edges. Okay, first of all, we need to apply the talcum powder. Apply the talcum powder all over the mold, not just in the part you want to cast. It's very important to make sure that you get rid of any air in the mold to let the metal replace it. So therefore you need to have a thin layer between the two sections of the rubber. Don't leave lumps. Don't leave lumps anywhere, because that will cause a blockage for the metal flow. Okay, now that you've done that, it's important to give it a few claps to get rid of the excess and then assemble it. First of all, you put the support boards on, then you put the clamps on. clamps basically just act as a grip to hold the sides of the mould together. Doesn't take much time to do so. Try not to clamp in the centre of the mould to give a room for the metal flow. Now get your hot metal, bring it over and rest it on the mould. That way you're only pouring about half an inch. Then pour into the mould carefully and consistently all the way up to the top. At this stage then you should tap the mould for about 10 to 15 seconds after you've poured, gently holding the mould so it doesn't fall over from all sides. Also, you'll note that the top is already beginning to get set within a couple of minutes. The other mould hole should then be considered to be filled. If you try to pour in both at the same time, what will happen is that the pressure will not be suitable and you'll end up with more flash than you need. Flash is where there's a metal leakage, and that will result in a kind of halo of metal around some parts of your figure. Again, you get your metal, bring it over, rest it on the mould hole and pour it in. Try to pour even without splashing all the way up the top. You should leave it for about 3 to 4 minutes after you've finished tapping for the metal to have settled down enough for you to begin to open the mould. 5 minutes is a good estimate for a chess piece. At that stage then you can squeeze the clamps to avoid them clicking or accidentally popping off, and then pull them off carefully. At this stage then you take off your support boards, they're no longer needed. Turn the mould to the side so the metal will still be hot, so you don't want them landing on your hand. Gently peel back the mould. It's important to bend the rubber, that's the whole benefit of rubber. And you can see the two chess pieces have cast very well inside. At the bottom there's 2 little ingates, we'll deal with that in a few minutes. Now bend the rubber away from the figures to expose enough space to be able to peel the figures out of the rubber. If you don't bend it, you could end up damaging the mould by ripping the rubber itself. Again, for the king, bend it carefully and be able to pop the figure out with relative ease. At this stage you should leave it for a few extra minutes to cool. Then you can get a wire snips or super snipper and clip off the ingates. The ingates are required to let the metal build up enough weight to fill the mould, and you can always remelt that metal again so there's no waste. Now it's important to give the snipped part a little bit of a file to make sure there's no rough edge remaining, as that can cause the figure to not be balanced when you put on the chessboard. Then give it a polish to clean off any dust, especially the talcum powder that had been a layer on the mould is now going to have some of it on the figure. Give it a good polish from all over, different positions from left to right, up to down. You should end up with a very nice shiny figure at the end of it. This will mean that you can then be prepared to go to the next stage, which would be, if you wish, to paint the figure. You will need to prime and then paint the figure. We'll do that with a different video. As you can see, the detail is very fine and sharp. Thank you very much for looking at our video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, please see our website for further videos. Thank you.